Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be doing an open air hand painted balayage using Redken clay lightener with 35 vol. The sectioning is going to be pretty simple here. We're just doing 2 sections in the front off the parting and then 1 big section in the back, and we'll be working up each section. I'm going to be starting in the front. If this is your first time ever doing open air balayage, it's never a bad thing to just start in the back, and then if you need to rinse things early, you can. I've become quite quick at painting hair, so I'm comfortable to start in the front. I'm taking quite large sections as I work through, so I take about 1 inch to 1.5 inch section depending on the density of the client's hair. What I'm looking for is something that you can't really see through, and it's thick enough that I can comfortably surface paint the hair without worrying about pushing the product through to the other side. Everything is just kind of laying on top. I'm also going to be leaving depth in between the sections here, so I'm really doing about 4 sections on each side of the head and then 1 little section for the money piece up top. And this piece is also about 1 inch thick. After we're done everything, I'm just wrapping it in plastic wrap. This is just keeping my sections really clean and processing at a good temperature with no added heat. We'll be working through the same sectioning on the other side. And just some tips for actually working with this lightener and this application. First being the consistency of the lightener. I mixed this one up at 1 to 1.5. It's pretty thick, and when you're mixing, you'll kind of see like a ball form. It seems hard, but then you keep mixing and it becomes kind of creamy and like the perfect consistency. If that's happening when you're mixing, that is perfect. Another key point to keep in mind when you're doing this application is your tension. Your tension should be very strong. Basically, you are kind of pulling at your client's head, and I would tell them to resist the pull. The smoother your section can be, the more effortlessly you're going to be able to apply that lightener and blend up. Obviously, we don't want to be hurting our clients, but we do have to have strong tension for this technique to work. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard to apply. When I'm actually applying the product, I like to touch down where I want the lightest point to be, and then I feather up really lightly going on a diagonal back, and then I'm just layering the product at the bottom so that I have this gradient of light saturation blending into heavy saturation, and that is how your balayage is going to look too. Moving on to the back, we're going to be doing the same thing all the way up the head. Because there's more surface area to cover, I just split this section into 2, and then I just paint on a diagonal back going from the highest point towards the face and then meeting at the lowest point. So it's like kind of like a big V section when it connects together. And then at the very top, I'm just going to take a triangle section and I'll paint 2 sections underneath that parting, leave a little bit of depth above those, and then do 1 section above that. So it's kind of like finishing it off with a brick lay pattern. Once we're finished the back, we're going to let everything sit for about half an hour to an hour longer, and then we will start on the root melt. I'm toning here with equal parts 6WG and 7GB. These both have a background of brown to tan, and they hold warm golden tones. The reason I chose this was because my client is naturally a little bit warmer and has kind of those natural coppery tones in her hair. So I wanted something that was a mix of a natural and a coppery tone. I'm melting her at about a level 6-7 because that is what she is naturally. I'm not trying to deepen anything here. I'm just softening where the light meets her natural depth. that's applied, we're going to start the timer for 20 minutes and then we will comb everything through to blend it all together. This is going to give us a little bit of a pre-tone on our ends and just make that transition really, really soft. She's lifted to a pretty clean level 8 and it just needs a little bit of refining. So we're toning with 1 ounce of 8GG, half an ounce of 9P, and half an ounce of 9NB. Once that's all applied, we're just going to let it sit for 10 and then throw some beach waves in there, and this is how it turned out. It's super effortless and subtle and honestly looks like what the sun could naturally do, which is what this technique does. If you're liking these tutorials, leave some love and subscribe, and thank you to everybody who has already been supporting.